Hi guys, Lindsay Wilson here from Positive Performance and the Mindset Coach Academy. And today what I want to talk about is a concept called being greedy for results and really why it matters. So the reason that I've been thinking about this is, as often happens, things come up in my life and then I notice them in my students and in my athletes. And maybe I see something or read something. And in this case, I was listening to a podcast about musicians performing in auditions and the performance anxiety. And on our team, we have my content marketing person is Chantel, and she's a musician. So she often talks a lot about how the things that we're doing with athletes and mindset coaching students apply to musicians and singers. And so this isn't a completely new concept, of course, but one of the things that they were talking about is how when musicians, and of course when athletes or any of us are going into a situation that has a lot of performance anxiety, or really anything that we are clinging to the results of that, we do one of two things. And essentially what we do is we either try to speed up and rush to the results, or we slow down too much and we get hesitant. And I think about this for myself like so much, not only as an athlete, like either if I really, really wanted something, I really, really wanted to win, which of course is a great instinct, it was so easy to get overly clinging to that, overly focused on that, and like try too hard, right? Like try to win instead of like trusting the process of like doing everything right will potentially get us the win, but not necessarily, or being overly hesitant, right? Like being scared to fail, being scared to not win. And it all comes from being really clinging to, and like I said, greedy for the result. And I'm also noticing this in my own life. So I'm noticing it definitely in my mindset coaching students as they're building their businesses, right? They either go one of two ways. Like they want to rush to something and like, I want to get to this many clients or this much money. And again, that's not a bad instinct, right? I mean, that's our motivation. Like it's important to have goals. It's important to like go for it. It's important to have high standards. None of that is bad. But when we get too clinging to that, we either rush or they get kind of paralyzed. Right? They get like hesitant and they get unable really to move forward at all. And again, I'm noticing that in myself too, because currently what we're doing on my team here at Positive Performance is we are redoing, or I should say launching another masterclass on competition. So it's funny how this competition stuff is coming up even as I'm developing, going through the creative process of developing a class on competition and how to develop them, which will be released soon. But essentially I'm in this creative process where I really want it to be good, right? So I have this idea of like how awesome the results are going to be. And that is, again, a great instinct. But I have to sit with the discomfort of letting go and letting myself go through the process. And it's so much like an audition or a game or really anything that we have to sit with that discomfort and not rush through it, and not get so clinging to the results and greedy for the results that we get paralyzed. Because if I think too much about it being perfect, it's hard to know which direction to go. And so I was thinking about this, like I said, because of this podcast and because I'm seeing what my coaching students and also what I'm seeing in my life. And so I wanted to talk about it because being greedy for results, again, is not necessarily a bad thing, right? That's where our motivation comes from, to win, to better ourselves, to make more money, to do anything risky or challenging or anything in our life, right? That motivation and being sort of greedy for it, for the results that we want and the results that we see and the results that we're visualizing and all those things are great until they're not. And so I think this is where like the nuance of mindset work really comes in, because it's not either or. It's not like you can't be greedy and that's a totally bad thing. Otherwise we're just like sitting back and saying, whatever happens, fine, you know? It's not necessarily that, but if we get too greedy for the results, we cling too much, we can't let go, we can't perform, right? We can't let ourselves play and just enjoy playing or competing. We can't let ourselves perform if we're a musician or presenting or teaching or what have you. And for myself right now, I can't let myself flow through that creative process and be patient for the results. I try to rush, or I get, thinking too much and hesitant. And so, again, just for you as a coach in your life, Where are you maybe clinging too much to the results, being greedy for the results? And this is really why it matters, because we do one of two things. We either rush or we get hesitant, and neither one of those paths really are going to get us, contradictory. We don't actually get the results that we want. So it's kind of a catch-22, and I definitely see this with my athletes too. They just get in the game and they get hesitant, or they try to rush it, right? And I know you've seen that as well. So neither one of those paths is good. It's like that middle ground of like wanting and then not wanting and letting go. And that's where, of course, a lot of the mindfulness practices and mental training practices that we teach can be really helpful to practice that, because it's not necessarily something that comes supernatural. But again, as we always teach, for you as a coach, where are you able to practice this? Hold the mirror up to yourself, see where it's happening in your life. It may not be on the court or on the field, but likely it's happening somewhere. And the more that you can tap into that and be self-aware about yourself doing it, the better you'll be able to reach your athletes in this regard too. So if you have any ideas or comments or thoughts or questions about this concept of being greedy for results, I would love to hear them. Think of one place in your life, either now or in the past, that you've been greedy for results and really got, and because of that, you weren't able to really get the results that you wanted, or maybe you were able to figure it out and stop doing that. But I'd love to hear any real world examples. If you would put those in the comments below, would love to hear about it and get the conversation going. All right. Have a great day, guys. Bye.